Hey everybody, this is Dr. Maples. We're here to continue our socialization lecture series, our second lecture in this long series talking about how we're socialized to feel certain things are normal or not normal. We're socialized on how to behave, what to expect, and so forth. And to start this second lecture off, we're going to introduce our new sociological lens. Now, to remember, we've already met one sociological lens. We talked about structural functionalism at the end of our cultural lecture series. Now, these lenses are kind of like a pair of glasses that we can put on, and they help us understand how society might work or better or more clearly see what's happening. Now, with structural functionalism, we learned to look at how society is a very stable thing, and culture is an important part of that. Here, we're now going to start thinking about our new lens, symbolic interaction. And in this one, we're going to focus in on individuals. Now, go all the way back to one of our first lectures of the semester. We talked about society is made of individuals. And without the individuals, our society does not function. It doesn't exist, in fact. So with socialization and symbolic interaction, we're trying to understand how those individuals exactly go about creating society. What we'll come to find out through this lens is that we can understand so much of how we identify ourselves and how society functions predictably comes from the interactions between individuals. It's family members teaching you how to wait in line. It's teachers telling you have to raise your hand to request permission to go to the bathroom. Or school systems expecting that you show up at a particular time because someday you're going to be a worker and the economy is going to expect you to show up on time. Governments expecting you'll follow certain laws. Social media often selling you certain products, citing certain ideas, and so forth. And also giving away your personal information to them in the process. These are all part of these individual interactions that shape our experiences. Truly, the interactions that we have with other people using this new lens really help us understand how we become socialized to be who we are. And again, go back to our previous socialization lecture. Remember where you were asked to list some of the ways that you identify yourself? Remember how many of those may have linked back to roles that you perform for others, such as your jobs, or such as being a family member, or maybe even how you describe yourselves in terms of things like your sex or race. These are ideas that you've been socialized to understand and accept. That's kind of exciting, and at the same time, it's kind of scary too, because it makes us ask to what degree we really are unique individuals. To what degree are we maybe socialized just like everyone else? Now, if these ideas do interest you, I have great news. There's an entire field of sociology dedicated to these very questions. That field is called social psychology. Now, social psychology is the study of how our behaviors, our thoughts, and our beliefs are shaped by other people. We can have original ideas. We can have our own beliefs. We can have our own thoughts. But what we're going to do in this lecture and then in our next lecture, we're going to talk a lot about how as individuals, so many of our thoughts, beliefs, and experiences are things that we've simply accepted from others. We may make revisions to them, we may accept them wholly, or we may reject them entirely. But they are ideas that are given to us by others. Now, I want to point out, this is an exciting lecture because we get a chance to really dig into some of the theoretical thinkers in this field. Social psychology, for me as an undergraduate, was really what got me excited about sociology in general. And so I want to share some of those early theorists that I found exciting back then as a student, and maybe you'll have some similar excitement about the material as well. Now, we do kind of go in depth on these, so what I'll do is break these into chunks because, frankly, it's a lot to take all this in at once. So feel free to watch these more than once, to pause them and so forth, to make sure you really get an in-depth experience and understanding of these individual sociologists. Social psychology, by the way, also a field that if you're a psychology major, you may actually recognize some of these names already and know some of these people and ideas. And isn't that cool? You'll probably do really well on the quizzes too. But it's also a really great meeting point between the two fields. Psychology, a field interested in the individual mind. Social psychology, taking psychology over into the realm of sociology and thinking about what happens when all these individuals are interacting and making our society. All right. Now, in this lecture and then in these coming up lectures, we're going to talk about some specific theorists. I've listed them on this slide here. We've got George Herbert Mead, and we'll learn a couple of ideas from him. Charles Horton Cooley. I bet the psychology majors are like, oh, yeah, I know him. W.I. Thomas, a guy that's important to me because we went to the same school. Many generations apart, to be very clear. Harold Garfinkel, probably the guy who got me interested in sociology in a really in-depth sense, also many generations apart. Irving Goffman, and again, W.I. Thomas has two ideas on here because he has some really cool ideas. So we'll explore all of these. In fact, I think to make things easiest, I'm going to start those in our next lecture. So we'll stop this lecture right here. And then in our next lecture, we're going to pick up with George Herbert Mead to learn some of his basic ideas. All right, that's it for this mini lecture. If you have questions, if you have concerns, you feel free to get in touch with me. I'm always happy to answer your questions because that's what I'm here to do. It's in my job description as a professor, answer questions. All right, if you need anything, you know where to find me. We'll talk soon. See ya.